Let's see. Actually, I should probably turn off. This works fine enough. All right. Let's see. 1 second for everybody that's here. What's up, folks? So what I'm doing right now is I'm posting on Twitter and Facebook, letting everybody know that we're on YouTube live right now, and then we'll get started. But really, what I want to know is, what's up, Kurt Chank, Average or Try Hard? What's up, guys? Really, I want to get your guys' thoughts. That's what I want to know. I want to know your guys' thoughts, whether it's good or bad, and we'll talk about it. So I'm gonna post it on Twitter and Facebook right now, letting everybody know what's up. Say, hey, I'm on YouTube live. Come on down. But let me know your guys' thoughts, and we'll get started in just a hot second. Um, Voodoo. Okay, boom. Okay, 1 second. Let me know if you guys. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. All right. But 1 second. I'm really particular with sound. I want to make sure the sound is good for you guys. We got maintenance people at the house outside, so they may have their mowers or whatever going on. So let me know if sound is an issue for you guys. Okay. Ooh, doo, doo, boo. We good? All right, we good. All right. What's good, everybody? So I last time I went live on YouTube was back in the preseason, and I wanted to do this more regularly, but so I figured it's been a little over 2 months since I've done this, but I want to hear from you guys, your guys' thoughts. I always love interacting with you folks out there. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the Vikings? I mean, I have a couple of different talking points right now, real quick. Actually, okay, let me say this one thing real quick before we get started, and then I'll go over, some of you guys' thoughts and react to it. So the number one thing that I'm seeing right now is that Kirk Cousins is, as far as the national media, forget the national media. I feel like everybody, all the media members are blaming Kirk Cousins for the loss on Sunday against the Chiefs. That loss on Sunday was not on Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins could have played better. He certainly could have. He didn't play all that great, but he did enough to where the Vikings should have been able to win that game. We talk about how Kirk Cousins is not Brady or Breeze. He's a quarterback like the majority of the league, the majority of quarterbacks in the league, to where they need the right system, the right resources around them. And the right system includes coaching. And so it's real easy to blame Kirk Cousins. And don't get me wrong, if Kirk Cousins was asked completely to where he was the reason that we lost, I would have talked about it. But I just think it's incredibly lazy to say, oh, Kirk Cousins again against a winning team, because he threw 3 touchdowns, bro, on third downs, all on third downs. You want to talk about how third downs, that's the money down? Kirk Cousins threw 3 touchdowns on third down. So I just think it's incredibly lazy. And I don't understand. So in the terms of the national media, I get it, to where if you're not following this team closely enough, it's easy to look at that game and say, okay, Kirk Cousins was the problem. But I find it just really hilarious that it seems like maybe I'm wrong, but it just feels like I'm the only person that's talking about the coaching problems when it comes to this team. When we talk about the right resources around him, we're talking about coaching, we're talking about a defense. So, for instance, the last 2 possessions on offense, the Vikings, Kevin Stefanski, and I like Kevin Stefanski. I would tend to think that Stefanski he might be held back from Zimmer and his conservative approach. So the last 2 offensive possessions, we were super conservative. We called very scared play calls, running the ball, screen passes. You compare that to the Detroit game at Ford Field, to where the Detroit Lions, they were coming back. And that second to last possession or the last possession, I can't remember. What was it on third down? They called Kevin Stefanski, dialed up the aggressive deep play pattern to Stephon Diggs, to where he got caught at, I want to say, the 2 or 3 yard line in the red zone. So basically at the goal line. So what happened from that game at Detroit to yesterday, or not yesterday, but last Sunday. What happened there? So that was coaching, man. And the defense, they shit the bed. Mackenzie Alexander. Let's put Mackenzie Alexander on Travis Kelce. I don't whatever. I'm gonna leave it at that. But I think blaming Kirk Cousins is incredibly lazy, and I find it so hilarious that everyone's afraid to talk about Mike Zimmer. If Mike Zimmer was in any other market, he would get destroyed. You think I'm bad, or those people that think I'm bad, like I'm the one person that will talk about it? Imagine 1,000 copies of me saying the same stuff if he was in any other market. Come on, man, that's weak. So let's see what your guys' thoughts are. Dre Curry says, "What's going on, man? Cousins with the game tied, couldn't get the job done. Is it time for a new quarterback next season?" I'm not saying that because, again, I thought he could have played better. There were a lot of overthrows out there, Dre Curry. He certainly didn't play like the last 4 weeks of Kirk Cousins that we saw. But again, the majority, the primary blame for last Sunday's game or last Sunday's loss against the Chiefs was coaching. And what really sucks is that the entire NFC North division lost. So you could have been tied with the Packers at 7-2 if you had just beaten a backup quarterback in Matt Moore. That was coaching, both on offense and on defense. So I'm not going to say it's time yet. I think we need to see how the rest of the season plays out before we decide, okay, do we need to move on to a new quarterback? Do we need to draft a quarterback in next year's draft? But then, even if they do, as long as Zimmer's there, he's going to ruin whatever talented quarterback that we have. I swear to God, if we had Patrick Mahomes, he would force Patrick Mahomes to dial it in and saying, "Bro, you're doing too much. All this sidearm." He talks shit on Case Keenum after every single game. So if we are going to bring in a new quarterback, I don't want him to be held back because of Mike Zimmer and his super conservative style of approach. Let's see. Who else we got? Oh, okay. Lucas Stash says, and it's funny, Lucas, you brought up something interesting. This was going to be one of my talking points too. Lucas Stash says, get rid of Waynes and Rhodes. Kirk played fine. So Rhodes, absolutely. And that goes back on Zimmer. I believe Rhodes is the 4th highest paid cornerback in the league. And he's playing like one of the worst cornerback, if not the worst cornerback in the league. I will say this about Trey Waynes, though. I've been an avid defender of Waynes. I don't think that he's gotten the respect that he deserves, but he played like ass on Sunday. He really did. And then here's something that I will also concede to all the people that hate Trey Waynes is that there have been a lot of times this season where he's gotten completely burnt, especially on deep pass patterns. But the quarterback, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet because the quarterbacks will oftentimes overthrow his assignments, or they won't see his man being open at all. So he's gotten a lot of lucky breaks, Trey Waynes has, but he's also made a lot of plays as well. Last Sunday, you could say Trey Waynes played like shit. You could also say it was matchup problems because Trey Waynes does not need to be guarding some Tyreek Hill. He does not need to be guarding super speedy, any type of receivers that can shift and move into a different position at the drop of a hat. Trey Waynes, he doesn't have the footwork to keep up with those type of receivers. So I personally would have Mike Hughes on any number one receiver, depending on the matchup. But again, Trey Waynes, he was bad. But if they don't bring Trey Waynes back, because he's likely going to command a nice chunk of change, if they don't bring him back, I can see it now. But I think he does deserve a lot more respect, even though Sunday he played really well. Boom. Average or try hard says, would you rather go for a QB or O-line help with the first pick? So me personally, I would go corner. I think I would go cornerback this year with the first round pick and then go offensive line with the second pick. Unless you think there's a quarterback out there. Now here's something that I'm going to throw out there. And I think this is something that I've been thinking about, but this got re-enhanced or reassured by a Twitter follower a couple of weeks ago. I like Josh Rosen. I think he's had a bad deal in Arizona. I think he's had a bad deal in Miami. You're talking about a guy that went from his first year in Arizona to then getting traded after his rookie year. Oh, he's nobody. We're going to bring in Kyler Murray. Then he goes to Miami, who's actively tanking. I wouldn't mind at this point in time because you have to imagine that now if the Miami Dolphins are going to go after Tua or whatever quarterback in the draft, that they're going to want to trade Josh Rosen. And so his draft stock, or not draft stock, his trade stock might be going down with each and every game he either plays, or in this case where Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting over him. So it may not cost a lot to get Josh Rosen. I would take a chance on him with, let's say, a fourth round draft pick, or if you can get it for a sixth round pick. I would say fifth round draft pick, but Rick Spielman donated that fifth round draft pick out of the goodness of his heart to the Baltimore Ravens for Kari Vedvik, who's not even on the team anymore. But to go back to your question, who is this, average or try hard? I would go cornerback in the first round and then offensive line in the second round. I like Tua. I just don't see it in the NFL. I know he's a consensus number one pick. I just had, because he's so cool, he's so calm, he's so collective in the pocket. But I just wonder how he's going to do, because in the NFL, the game is much faster, much, much faster. So I just need to see it before I believe it. So I don't know. I wouldn't go quarterback in the first round, especially if Zimmer is still going to be the head coach. I would go corner, then offensive line. Let's see. Kurt Chank says 12 or 4 or 11 and 5. I'm guessing that's your prediction for the rest of the year. I don't know, man. And here's what I'm going to say. So I got the previewing the Cowboys game podcast that will be out tomorrow. But I'm done talking about the Vikings. They should win this game or whatever. I'm just going to say how the Vikings can win this game, because there are a lot of games, or whenever the Vikings are playing anybody, I like to do matchups. I like to talk about how the Vikings have the advantage, or they may be in trouble for that particular team. But I'm done talking about how the Vikings will win or should win this game, because there have been too many times, especially under this regime, where they've beaten themselves. So as far as your record, 12 and 4, 11 and 5, I will say this. I think Seattle's a guaranteed loss. Whether the Vikings are on point or we have great coaching or not, Russell Wilson is just amazing. He's a candidate for MVP, even though for me, Christian McCaffrey, and I would also put in Michael Thomas as well. But I just think Seattle, that's an automatic loss. So we're 6-3 right now. That means you would have to go, if you lose to Seattle, which I think you will, you'll go 6-4. So you literally have to go, goodness, undefeated the rest of the way. The Packers, I could see them beating them. The Cowboys, we'll talk about it tomorrow. But I like your optimism. 11 and 5, I think, would be more realistic, but we'll see. Oh, Caden Odie says the Chiefs game was like the Panthers game in 2017. You damn right, dog. Yo, that was crazy, because, and what I remember was that Andrew Sandeo had a clean hit on, goodness, Cam Newton before he took off for like 40-something yards. And I think he missed the tackle in that game, to where Case Keenum, he played well. And I remember they had that touchdown called back to Adam Thielen. I think it like spun around his chest or whatever, even though it didn't bobble, it didn't hit the ground at all. But that was a game where the Vikings should have won that game. And the same thing can be said for last Sunday. That's a great comparison, Caden. Delirious X says bad play calling and poor line play. Yeah, the offensive line. So I already talked about the poor play calling, but also the offensive line was really bad as well. Dude, what's his name? Frank Clark didn't even play. He didn't even play on Sunday with the Chiefs at all. And the offensive line still stunk on Sunday. And so I read some stat, I forgot who posted it, to where Dalvin Cook, he got, I believe, 71 yards rushing on the day, on Sunday. And all of them were after contact. So the interior offensive line in particular did him no favors. Garrett Bradbury, as much as I want to destroy him, he was terrible. Him and Elflein, they both were equally horrible on Sunday. But Garrett Bradbury, we can't forget the last 4 weeks where the Vikings have been balling. He's been playing well. Elflein is the true weakness on this offensive line, because, again, the problem with him is, forget the times that he gets turned around. Even when he's in front of his man, he gets pushed back. He can't hold his ground. As an NFL guard, that is pathetic. And so if you can't hold your ground and you consistently just get pushed back into your quarterback, then what are we doing? And again, that's coaching. And again, Rick Spielman. So we talk about how Matt Khalil, goodness, Blair Walsh, Christian Ponder, Xavier Rhodes now, and now with Pat Elflein, where we just have these guys that because we've invested so much into these players, we are just going to keep playing them even though they suck, and there may be better replacements behind them. Or in the case of Blair Walsh, there wasn't a replacement. You should just go out and get whatever kicker that you can find. But you're seeing that right now. There's no excuse for Pat Elflein to be out there on the field. So I agree. It was poor O-line play. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Like I said, I'm going to do the podcast tomorrow previewing Vikings Cowboys. But the Vikings offensive line is going up against a beast of a defensive line in the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium. So that's going to be a tough test for the offensive line. Let's see. See, we already talked about Cousins enough. South Star says must win against Dallas. Lose and say goodbye to the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, the NFC is loaded. Carolina's still doing well, even though they just lost to the Niners the week before, but they just beat somebody. They're what, 5-3 or 6-3 right now. Kyle Allen's playing well. Seattle, I think they're going to keep getting better. New Orleans, they're going to win their division. There's just a ton. There's just a lot going on in the NFC. And so in the Niners, they're going to win their division. If you lose this game against Dallas, I could see it being over. I don't think it's still mathematically going to be over, but I could see it. This is a must win against the Dallas Cowboys. You need to win this game in order to stay afloat and feel good. Otherwise, when pressure, and you know what? I will say this, even if they lose against the Cowboys, I could see the Vikings making a run because the one thing that Mike Zimmer is good at when it comes to coaching is selling this horseshit idea of nobody believes in us. Look at the media. Look at all of them talking down on us. Nobody believes. And it's crazy. You're in your 6th year, dog. And the only thing you have as far as being a head coach is selling nobody believes in us. Why can't you perform when people actually do believe in you? So I could see it being over if they lose to Dallas, but I could also see rallying up the troops. Nobody believes in us because any other time, Mike Zimmer can't get this team ready. So I don't know. Let's see. Howard Horowitz says, in the KC game, we continue to run near the middle of the field. Why? Run to the outside. Coaching sucks. And I remember, so you know what? When I heard Mike Zimmer's comments after the game, he talked about how, and I think maybe this was after his halftime comments, or maybe it was post game. I can't remember. He talked about how he thought we should have ran the ball more, which really echoed his criticism of Flip last year, if you guys remember that. But if you're continually running up the middle and nothing is there, then what are we talking about? What do you mean? That ignorance is basically what led Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen being pissed off the first 4 games of the season, just super conservative and saying we're going to run the ball no matter what. But I agree with what you're saying, Howard, is that the edge runs are going to be there, especially on the right side. Josh Klein, he had a couple of penalties, but I think still if you ran off the edge on the right side especially, you could have did more. But they continued to run up the middle, which was really stupid. I think running to the left side would have been dicey no matter what. But again, you got to switch it up, but they didn't do that. So that's coaching. Let me see. Little Toe says Zimmer's timeout that cost us a fumble pissed me off. Yeah. I mean, here's what's crazy, man. If you love Mike Zimmer, then just say you love Mike Zimmer. But for people, you can't ignore how crappy of a coach that he's been. His win percentage against winning teams is 33%. So let's talk about that for a second. I'll get to the timeout before the fumble in just a second, Little Toe. But let's look at it this way. Sean McVay is in his 3rd year, right? His first 2 years as head coach, less than half the time that Mike Zimmer has been a head coach, is 10-6 against winning teams. He has 3 less. He's above 500, where Mike Zimmer is not. He's what, 13-26? So he's 13 games below 500. So Sean McVay is already above 500. He has 3 less wins than Mike Zimmer, in 23 less games against winning teams. That's pretty pathetic. And then Doug Peterson is 15 and 16. So he's hovering around 500. He just completed his third season last year as head coach of the Eagles, and he already has two more wins than Mike Zimmer in that category in 8 less games. Why are we so afraid, or why can't we acknowledge just how overrated of a coach that Mike Zimmer has been? And then you're right, that timeout you called before the fumble, like, or not even before the fumble, because the fumble happened, but then I guess technically it was before the snap count, but either way, Matt Moore was not aware that it was a timeout call. He was still playing and he just lost the football. So that was going to be a fumble and a chance for the Vikings to recover. Instead, Mike Zimmer called a timeout and did an all-out blitz afterwards. He is a terrible coach. He's an overrated head coach. He does not deserve to be any other market. Mike Zimmer would get killed. So yeah, that timeout, I just find it funny because, and especially going back to not icing the kicker because you still had one timeout left remaining. But to sit there and call a timeout for no reason on, goodness, that was what, 3rd and 4. And then to where it became predictable because we knew you didn't really blitz Matt Moore all that much. The times that you did, Matt Moore got caught off guard, but you didn't do it consistently throughout the game. So then you have to imagine that it became predictable to where, okay, he just called a timeout. He's going to send an all out blitz. You sent Harrison Smith out there on a blitz as well. So you left the middle of the field wide open. So yeah, it was stupid. And then you called a stupid play. You said, okay, the fumble was a chance for the Vikings to recover, but let's dial up a more smart play. And then that resulted in the Kansas City Chiefs getting a first down anyway. It was stupid. Um, let's see. If let's do a couple more. How long have we been on for? 22 minutes? Okay. See, I always have a good time talking with you guys. Um, okay, so Rock City Production says, "Yo, my man Randy, would you trust Cousins in a 2 minute situation where you rely on him to win or tie the game?" So, yes, under the circumstances that we have the right play calling. So, what we saw in Detroit, what we saw the first, or not the first, but the previous 4 weeks before the game against Kansas City, yes, I would trust Kirk Cousins in a 2 minute situation if we have play calling. Because I don't think Kirk Cousins, I could be wrong, but I don't think Kirk Cousins is allowed to audible out of the play calls that he gets. I think he pretty much has to go with whatever play calls that he gets from Stefanski. So if we have the right play calling, if we have aggressive play calling, then yes, I believe that Kirk Cousins can do it. But if we're going to have this piss poor, soft ass play calling, you're playing not to lose instead of playing to win, then no. And it's not even on Kirk Cousins. Believe me, I shitted on Kirk Cousins earlier in the year through the first 4 games where he played terrible. The game at Green Bay where we could have won, which Mike Zimmer deserved credit for how he coached, especially after giving up an early 21-0 lead, I believe, in the first quarter of that game and not allowing another score for the rest of that game. And then the game against the Chicago Bears, where it was bad coaching and Kirk Cousins played poorly in that game as well. So I'm going to talk bad about Kirk Cousins if it's warranted. But we've seen when the right play call and matches up to Kirk Cousins, it tends to bode out well. Or if not, as long as we have aggressive play calls, and if Kirk Cousins is unable to connect on those deep passes, or if he makes the overthrows on those critical times, like we saw, it wasn't necessarily critical times against the Kansas City Chiefs, but in those crunch time moments, 2 minute drills, if we were to see that, then yes, I'll get on Kirk Cousins. But I believe that Kirk Cousins can do well with the right play calling. And if play calling is not going to be there to be aggressive, then Kirk Cousins doesn't stand a chance at all. See who else we got. Goodness, we see John Doe says, why wasn't Curse covering Kelsey? Because of coaching. Because apparently Mackenzie Alexander, who's like 5'10", is a better matchup than, goodness, J-Ron Curse. Or even Xavier Rhodes. Xavier Rhodes actually wasn't even all that bad on Sunday against the Chiefs. It was really Trey Waynes who was the worst cornerback on Sunday. But why didn't you have a bigger body guy on Travis Kelsey? You know why? Because of coaching. That's really the only reason. Straight up. Let's see. Kirk Cousins. I guess this is a Kirk Cousins account. He says Elfline is a fat failed O lineman. It's really bad. I think we're borderline bust territory when it comes to Pat Elfline, dog. I think it is. Because if you get turned around, that's technique. You need to get move out laterally, whatever. That's technique. But when you're talking about you're in the right position, but you literally aren't strong enough to hold back your man to block, that's your essential job as an offensive lineman. I think we're on bust territory now. And the only reason I would say, goodness, he may be a bigger bust than Matt Khalil. At least Matt Khalil made a Pro Bowl. Say what you want about Matt Khalil. He made a Pro Bowl. Pat Elfline was really good his rookie year. But, I mean, ever since, and in 2018, I gave him a break. But so far this year, it has gotten so much worse to where I think we are looking at one of the biggest busts in modern history for the Vikings. I think Laquan Treadwell is number one. Man, Pat Elfline might be right behind him, straight up. Um, Goodness, let's see. AT Dub says we didn't run Madison enough either. Again, that's coaching. Yeah, I could be wrong about this, but just off the eye test alone, I think Alex Madison got out snapped by what's his name? Amir Abdullah. I'm pretty sure that Amir Abdullah had more snaps than Alexander Madison on Sunday. So in the passing game, that's fine. But again, that second offensive possession where third and short, you could have got a first down. Instead, you run with Amir Abdullah. And I did forget about the fact that initially the officials marked it as a first down, and the Vikings were super lazy to not snap the ball. But it's funny because I was surprised. I saw it in real time, and I said, wow, I'm surprised they marked it as a first down because clearly that was not a first down. That was a fourth down. And so, again, that is coaching. Why do you not have Alexander Madison out there? So those are two different personnel moves. Actually, you could include Trey Waynes guarding Tyreek Hill, which should never happen as well, or at least having safety help deep back over the top to where, okay, Trey Waynes matched up with Tyreek Hill, Amir Abdullah on third and short on that second offensive possession, and having Mackenzie Alexander guard Travis Kelce on second and 21 after you got a sack. After a botch kick by Britton Colquitt to where the Chiefs started at the Vikings 45 and they got pushed back about 11 yards. That's just matchup problems right there, and that goes back to coaching. Jake's 199 456 says, do you think we need to clean house with the coaching staff and GMs? If here's been my stance since the beginning. If you I don't it's not all right, no. I don't think it's enough to just make the playoffs. You need to win a playoff game. Win one playoff game, and I'm good with it. I don't care. You can bring back Mike Zimmer if you win a playoff game, and Pat Shermer's probably going to get fired. So assuming Kevin Stefanski is going to be gone, bring back Pat Shermer, and I would even give it one more year with Rick Spielman to at least run out the Kirk Cousins contract. But even if you just make the playoffs, if you lose, all them mofos should be gone. Every single last one of them. I am so tired of these dudes getting a complete pass in the media. I could be wrong about this, but they don't call him out enough. Here's what's crazy. I know one of you guys commented and said that the Vikings media should hire me. I don't think they can handle me. Straight up. I'm not sitting here acting like I'm big and bad. I'm not. The way I'm talking to you guys right now, the way I do these podcasts is the same way that I talk to my friends, it's the same way that I talk to my family. This is just who I am. And I just like to keep it real. Just say what's going on. I don't think they could handle me. And I noticed that a bunch of media members, they just get a tight butt. They just got a problem with me because all they want to do is kiss Mike Zimmer's ass and Rick Spielman's ass, just like everybody's saying, oh, Kirk Cousins is the problem. No, Mike Zimmer is the motherfucking problem, dog. But I'm just so sick of this crap. You need to win a playoff game. Win. Mike Zimmer has one playoff win off a lucky ass play in the Minneapolis Miracle, in which the offense got that win under Pat Shermer. Also, here's another stat that I was going to say for a podcast, kept it in my back pocket, but to hell with this. So Mike Zimmer, through his first 5 seasons, we talked about how he's 13-26 against winning teams. The only year, the one season out of the first 5 that he has completed as head coach, He only has one season where he's finished above 500 against winning teams. You want to know what that year was? 2017, coincidentally, when we had a consistent offense. That's why I say Pat Shurmur was the reason why we did anything in 2017, because the defense was great. Yes, it was. But every single year that Mike Zimmer has been here, offense or no offense, the defense has been great as well. But the one year that we can go above 500 against winning teams, one year out of his previous five, was 2017 when we had an offense. This whole defense carries everything, and this era of football crap is horseradish. And media needs to call him out more. I don't do it, or I don't mind doing it, whatever. But I just think it's completely soft because, like I said this before, and I'll say it again. Any other market, any other sports market, Mike Zimmer would get destroyed out there. It's really pathetic. Sorry, I just went off on a tangent there. Let's see. What else we got? Um, Kevin Newton says, "Why doesn't the media or fan base keep Rick and Zimmer accountable?" I'm not going to blame the fans. I think it is there. I have no right to tell you as the fans what to do. I think if I'm sitting here saying you guys should hold the team accountable or this or that, it's your opinion, right? So this is something that, like, I've learned along the way, is that even if I vehemently disagree with you, or even if I think your opinion is straight up wrong, it's your opinion. So if fans are just sitting there saying we think Mike Zimmer is great, then okay, I'm going to tell you why Mike Zimmer is not great, but I'm not going to tell you what your opinion should be. It's Minnesota nice out there. I get it. That's just how Minnesota fans are. But the media, I think they don't hold Mike Zimmer accountable because, for a large part, I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to call them names or anything like that. But I just think the way that the media handles Mike Zimmer is completely soft. They treat Mike Zimmer like he's mother freaking Nick Saban at Alabama. He hasn't done jack. Mike Zimmer has done nothing with this team, but we treat him like he's Nick Saban. I don't know. So the fans, do whatever you want. It's your opinion. But as far as the media, do your jobs. Do your jobs. So to blame Kirk Cousins on Sunday for that loss, especially for the primary reason, is completely weak as hell, dog. So I don't know. Let's see. Roselle Chavez says, "Why hasn't the right guard situation been changed? I know they have to see him getting dragged and thrown." I'm assuming you're talking about left guard, because Josh Klein has been fine. So if we're talking about left guard, you don't want to move out Josh Klein at all. But left guard, yeah, I mean, you got Dakota Dozier. Brett Jones plays well, especially in pass protection. I don't know. The only reason, and this mirrors, like I said, the previous players, where Zimmer, Spielman, or whoever, they invest so highly in certain picks or certain players that it's kind of like they're admitting defeat when they're bad. So they'd rather keep them out on the field, as in Pat Elflein and Xavier Rhodes this time, instead of saying, okay, we need to replace them because they're not producing. Oh yeah, Roselle says, my bad, left guard. Yeah. Um, if let's see, Kirk Cousins' account says if Stefanski does well, he is gone. Head coach. If he does bad, he is gone. Fired. I said this earlier in this live stream that yes, I think Kevin Stefanski does deserve blame for Sunday. He does. But I think to a degree he's being held back by Mike Zimmer because we've seen him be aggressive before, especially the previous 4 weeks before Sunday. But I could see him where if he does well, he's going to be gone as a head coach. If he does bad, if we have super conservative play calling, which I think is at the extension of Mike Zimmer, then Mike Zimmer is going to get up on that podium like he does and blame Kevin Stefanski. We need to do this more and this more. And that's the thing. Maybe for some people that think I'm a little bit too harsh on Mike Zimmer, maybe I am. But for somebody that continuously gets up on the podium and blames everyone but himself, never takes accountability for himself, but can never, I'm sorry, if you're going to do that, then you need to be able to take it too. So Kevin Stefanski, if he does bad, I can see him being gone as well because he's going to be the scapegoat, just like, and Flip deserved it. Flip deserved it last year, but Kevin Stefanski is going to be the scapegoat if the offense continues to struggle. Mm, um, viewed viewed as cute says, dude, we got to get you a lot more subs. Love your attitude and spirit, Randy. Yeah, man. Yeah, listen, man, share my stuff. I'm not one to be like, hey guys, listen, share it, share my video and all that. Oh, this is gonna be great. Come on, guys, and just post it everywhere. I post my stuff once, and I know a lot of people like to post it like 4 times a day. In case you missed it, like, no, nobody missed it. Stop being clickbait worthy. But if you like my stuff, share it, man. I'm glad that I appreciate you guys that follow and watch my stuff, whether you agree or disagree. I just like to give my opinion, and that's what it is. So I appreciate that. Um, what would we Vikings take says, what would we have to do to get Trevor Lawrence in 2021 or 2022? Well, let me answer your question directly first, and then I have more to add on that Vikings takes. As far as what we would have to do to get Trevor Lawrence in 2021, that means next year, first of all, you would have to fire Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman after this year. Because if you don't, then they're going to come back into 2020 trying to win it all to save their jobs. So the only reason that, well, let's assume that Trevor Lawrence goes first. I think you're going to have to tank all of 2020, which I don't think they'll do with Zimmer and Spielman. Secondly, to add on this, yes, his first year last year, Trevor Lawrence was great. So far, Trevor Lawrence this year has been playing pretty badly. So maybe his draft stock will go down if it continues, but we'll see how he does, assuming Clemson makes it into the playoffs. But you're going to need to tank. You're really, truly going to need to tank in order to have a chance at him. Because no matter what, even if he does struggle next year, I think some team is going to take him at least with the first 7 picks in the draft in 2021. Let's see. The QC says, do you interact much with any sports live streamers on YouTube? I don't know what you mean by that. So do you mean like other YouTubers? I don't know what you're saying with. If you're talking about like the followers and stuff, I do need to do that more often. I said that I was going to do it more often in the preseason, and it's been over 2 months, just lots of podcasting and stuff. And I was with Score North and working with them. And so my bad for not doing this more often, but I will. I promise I will start doing this more often. But I guess I don't want to interpret your question wrong. So if you want to clarify it, go ahead. Um, Mike Racine says, I hope I'm saying your name right. He says, I think our run defense is fine besides the 91-yard run. It's just the pass defense. We get picked apart by teams. The Chicago game, they were driving down the field with ease. I am going to disagree with you, Mike. I think our run game has actually been suspect as well. Our run game can be had. It really, really can. I've seen the run. In fact, let me see if I can bring up these stats here. Hopefully, you guys can still see me. I'm just going on to a different tab real quick just to bring up as far as total defense or run defense. Let's see. Our run defense can be had. So last time I checked it, we were giving up at least over 100 yards rushing a game. So let me see if that has changed at all. Let's see, rushing. Goodness, where are you? There you are. Okay. Rushing. We are okay. So it's gotten a little bit better over the last couple of weeks. We now give up 96 yards rushing a game, which I guess when you look at it compared to the rest of the defenses, that is towards, well, I mean, what's that? Goodness, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it is ninth. So I understand statistically ranking is ninth in the league, but I think our run defense can be had at times. And so I think yes, the secondary has been bad as well. And that's another thing that I'm going to be a little bit wary when it comes to this upcoming game against upcoming game on Sunday against the Cowboys, because they have Zeke Elliott. So I know the 91-yard touchdown was pretty bad, but I still think at times that we can be had by running backs. I don't know. It's just a hunch. Let me see. Actually, while I'm here, screw it. Let's see the games that they played. So, for instance, okay, the Falcons, their offensive line was bad. week 1. I think the Eagles, they did pretty well in run game as well. The Eagles, they got, oh goodness, no, yeah, they did. They got 22 rushes for 108 yards. So at times we can give up 100 yards or more against good running teams. And so, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, we were at like 116 yards a game as far as run defense. And so the last couple of weeks, it's been fine, but I think our run defense has been pretty suspect, to be honest. Osman A says, "Hey Randy, if we lose this week at Dallas, can you make a video of an epic rant? You make me laugh when I need it most, brother." That's well, okay. So I appreciate that. So it depends how I feel. It depends how they lose the game. I'm being genuine. This isn't clickbait. This isn't me. Whenever I do these shows, it's not me trying to get a rise out of people. It's not me trying to get more followers. This is just who I am. And if you guys like it, great. If not, so be it. I don't get up there trying to plan, okay, I'm going to do a rant to say this or that. It really just depends on how I feel, how the game goes. So I would say, honestly, because at this point I have zero expectations for this team, I'm probably not going to do a rant. The reason why I went off so bad against or at least with the outcome of the Chiefs game, was because of coaching. Coaching. If it was Kirk Cousins, just solely Kirk Cousins, but there was good coaching, I would say, well, you know what? Kirk Cousins, he couldn't keep up that 4-game streak of looking hot. Even though against the Redskins, he wasn't perfect, but he was still efficient against the Redskins. So, okay, eventually Kirk Cousins, he has to come back down to earth. But this was bad coaching, and so many stupid blunders that they did cost the Vikings the win, to where that's why I went off. So now at this point, I would probably say no, but depending on how they lose, or if they lose, depending on how they lose, maybe I will. We'll see. Andrew K says, "What do you think about the Mavericks this year?" See, here's something I've learned. Normally, I would talk about my other teams, but I've learned you got to know your audience. You guys, Andrew K, I understand you care about. I'll say they're probably going to do well, but for the most part, 99.9% of you guys out there that are watching this or that watch my podcast, you guys don't give a damn about the Mavericks or the Nationals or the Capitals. So I'll keep it Vikings here. Sweeto says, "Why do you think we can't create a winning culture?" I don't know, because of coaching. That's really actually, you know what? It goes coaching and then general manager too. I think Rick Spielman, because of his pride and the way that he's drafted, has really hurt this team. And then also because of Mike Zimmer not being able to just straight up be a good head coach in the NFL, especially against good teams. I saw some stat out there that the Vikings, I don't know, I'll have to look it up on Twitter, but the Vikings they haven't won a game on the road outdoors against a winning team in like 4 or 5 years or whatever, however long that Mike Zimmer has been here. As far as culture, it starts with leadership. I think the owners, Mark and Ziggy Wolf, have done a marvelous job staying out of it, saying we'll just hand out the checks. Players, GMs, coaching staff, we'll hand out the checks. We'll let those that are making football decisions, we are going to allow them to make football decisions. So it's not like a Dan Snyder situation in Washington where the owners are getting in the way of the coaching staff and the GM and the front office. It's not that as well. So it goes down to the front office and the coaching staff. They are not good enough for this team. And the sad part about this is one of the most talented rosters for the Minnesota Vikings that I've seen in, I've been following this team for 20 years now. This is easily a top 3 most talented rosters that we've had in the last 5 years, okay, compared to the rest of the 20 years. And it is being absolutely squandered by poor leadership. If you replace them with, and I'll talk about 2 in tomorrow's podcast as far as potential replacements, those that I think could do a better job. I have 3 top prospects that I think that could do a better job than Mike Zimmer. Rick Spielman, I think you can find a front office exec anywhere, maybe Louis Riddick that works with ESPN or others. I think you can find those guys that can say, the biggest problem with Rick Spielman is just saying, if you're wrong on certain things, if I have a shitty podcast, then I'll have a bad podcast. Sometimes it happens. I'm not always going to have a good podcast. If you have a bad pick or if you have a bad draft pick or a bad signing, it's okay because you're not going to get it right 100% of the time. But you need to be able to admit that you're wrong and move on for the betterment of the team. And the problem is with Rick Spielman, he's not willing to do that. Xavier Rhodes is the fourth highest paid cornerback in the league, and he's still out there on the field. I was the one that said it all last offseason that said, you need to trade this guy while everybody else thinks that he's great. Everybody else thinks he's great. Take advantage of that. Instead, you said no because of pride. We're going to keep him along with Mike Zimmer because you fall into that too. And now look how it's working out for you. He's a major cap liability. And then, okay, fine. Even if you release him, you could have got a nice overhaul for Xavier Rhodes. John Gruden, we talk about how he traded away Khalil Mack. John Gruden would have traded away Xavier Rhodes, but no, we have too much pride here. So it's leadership. That's all it is. Let's see. Legendary bro Guido says, Randy, I think the Vikes will thump the Cowboys Sunday night. We match up great against them. I honestly think that it is a good match. I think it's actually an equal matchup between both teams. I think the Cowboys, and coming into this season when you guys remember Dak Prescott, he wanted $40 million, right? $40 million a year. I said, hell no, bro. You couldn't replace Dak Prescott with Ryan Fitzpatrick because as long as you have Zeke Elliott and the defense, you'll be fine and you won't notice a difference. But I will say this, Dak Prescott is playing well for the most part this year because there are times where he still falls back into a pretty inaccurate quarterback. But I will say he's played pretty well for the most part this year. They actually match up really well. Both teams, there's an equal matchup. And so it could be a tough game if both teams play at their best. So to say that the Vikings will thump the Cowboys, I just don't see it. I think the Vikings can win, but I think it would, if both teams play at their best, it could be a close game and a victory for the Vikings. But again, shitty coaching. If you're going to have Mackenzie Alexander guard, Jason Witten, or what's their other tight end, Blake Jarwin, then you're going to get your asses kicked. If you're going to have stupid matchups and get in your own way of a victory, then there's nothing to talk about. Because for everybody that talks about Jason Garrett and every time they lose that they should be fired, he still does a pretty good job of coaching compared to Mike Zimmer. Okay, so yes, if the Vikings play well up to their potential, that includes good coaching, good quarterback play by Kirk Cousins, the defense plays well, they don't fall apart and choke like they do in big moments consistently, then the Vikings can make it a tough game and they could win narrowly. Let's say final score of 24-21, right? But again, I'm not giving an official prediction because I don't know what to expect from this damn team. So I don't think they'll thump them, but I think they could win that game. We'll see. Brett Nelson says, "Oh, Brett, what's up, Brett? I think we met at Eric the Reds in Minneapolis, right? When I was out there, right? Pretty sure this is the same Brett Nelson." Says, "Sup, Randy? My question is, why doesn't play calling get any of the blame? Maybe they have, but from what I have seen, it's Kirk O-line or defense. Why didn't we run the ball on first downs?" So, Brett, so I talked about this earlier. I won't be repetitive on this. I don't think the defense is really getting any blame. I think it's either Kirk Cousins or offensive line when it comes to the national media and, quite honestly, the Minneapolis, Minnesota media as well, because Kirk Cousins is just the easy target. It's so easy to bring up Kirk Cousins and his record against winning teams. And in the case, let's say if they lose on Sunday night, oh, Kirk Cousins and his record in primetime games, it's very easy. So I listened to Pardon My Take on Barstool Sports. And after Sunday's game against the Chiefs, they talked about, oh, Kirk Cousins, he sucked. And they talked about the slide that he did, the premature slide that he had that would have got a first down or should have been able to get a first down on third down. Instead, he stopped way short. And so it's just an easy, if you don't follow the team closely enough, if you're the national media, I understand that. But if you cover the team, if you're a beat writer and you follow this team closely and you're still talking about Kirk Cousins and the offensive line are the main issues after Sunday's loss, that is weak. That is weak sauce. That means you're looking through a purple rose tinted glasses and whatever else. You're not putting the blame where it should be, which should be the defense. And when it comes to offense, the offensive play calling and Mike Zimmer and the matchups that were there. That is what really was the root cause of losing. So to answer your question, Brett, I think I don't know. I don't know if people are just scared of Mike Zimmer. Again, they treat this dude like he's Nick Saban, but I'm not trying to sit here and sell myself and say, hey, if you want real takes, follow me. But I'm going to keep it real with you guys 100% of the time. If Mike Zimmer, I will be the first person to kiss Mike Zimmer's ass if all of a sudden he starts becoming a better coach. I will say, I will eat humble pie. I will do whatever. But he has been terrible. No one else seems to do it but me. So I don't know. Um, let's see. Let's do a couple more. Man, I always have a good time when I'm doing this, man. You guys are so much fun. Uh, let's see. Okay. Trying to see some that I haven't answered before. We talking about Andrew Sandejo. I see a couple of you guys talking about Andrew Sandejo got released. No, we don't need him. Andrew Sandejo, he's a good hitter that will draw penalties, but no, we talked about the Eagles secondary when I did that podcast. Their secondary was trash, and that included Andrew Sandejo, and we know that. 2017, Andrew Sandejo was great for us in coverage. That was the only year in coverage that I said, wow, Andrew Sandejo, he stepped his game up. But then 2018, he got hurt. And then this year with the Eagles, he's been trashing coverage as well. I don't want to hear nothing about Andrew Sandejo coming back to the Vikings. Wait, no. Oh, I hate y'all. No, I love y'all. But y'all said they already signed him. They claimed him. Hold up. I don't believe you. I swear to God, dude. You did not. Holy shit. Tom Pelissero. The Vikings claim veteran safety Andrew Sandejo off waivers from the Eagles. For what? Holy shit. If they play. Oh, for what? For what? Holy. Oh, man. I'm going to try my best not. Wow. Yo. Y'all, this is the second time you guys have broke news to me on YouTube Live, because the last time I did it, I was talking about how the Kyle Sloter got cut by the Vikings, and I said, oh, I don't know where he's going to go. He's getting a workout with Detroit, and y'all were saying, oh, he just got picked up by Arizona. And I said, oh, I don't believe you. The Vikings claim Andrew Sandejo for what, bro? For what? Oh my God, for what? We have Harrison Smith, we have Anthony Harris, we have Jaron Kearse. And then I've seen this a couple of times where I've seen a couple of suggestions saying, okay, if Xavier Rhodes, if he can't play cornerback, maybe he can play some safety, which I could see it, but only in big nickel situations, basically to rotate in and out with Jaron Kearse. But even still, I would have Jaron Kearse over Xavier Rhodes. There is no mother bleeping reason to have Andrew Sandejo on this team except the fact that he's familiar with this defense. And even though he's been familiar with this defense outside of 2017, he has been terrible in coverage, in which we need the most help. Whatever, man. It's whatever. Yeah. Oh, snap. I'm not surprised, man. That's my reaction. They brought back Andrew Sandejo for no reason. So whatever. Familiarity, baby. Familiar. We can't let that old thing go. Got to bring them back just to test it out one more time. Even though we were in that relationship before and they just treated us like crap, and they just drained our checking accounts 2 years ago to go cheat on us, to go with some other dude out in Vegas and get hitched, and they bought a house and they stole your expensive car, whatever. They called you back because it didn't work out with their relationship that they cheated on you with, and say, oh, can I come back? And you say, oh my God, oh, fine, let's try it one more time. There's no reason to bring him back. All right, I'm done. Who's going to be cut? I don't know. Let's see. Oh my God. That's so funny. G Status Music Channel says probably after the Jaron Kearse arrest. Maybe, but I mean, with the way that the NFL works and the amount of times that people has gotten second chances, and I agree, what Jaron Kearse did was stupid. DUI was dumb. Loaded weapon was dumb. Now, I saw reports where Mike Hughes, where he came back, or not came back, but, excuse me, Mike Hughes was reported. Oh my God, he was in the car with Jaron Kearse. I don't give a damn. And he was throwing up and all that stuff. Who cares? He got drunk. Get drunk. Who cares? Be responsible. He wasn't driving the car. Go get drunk. I don't care. But what Jaron Curse did was stupid. But at the same time, all these players that get second chances, it's whatever, man. Andrew Sendejo. If I see Andrew Sendejo out there on that field, bro, over Jaron Curse, yeah, you'll get your rant then. Oh, you'll get it then when he gives up a 50-yard touchdown. Um, let's see. Yeah, I wonder who they're. I wonder who he's going to cut. Let's see. Um, Josh Morrison says, "Would you trade up for Trevor Lawrence no matter the cost?" So I talked about this before. I think if Zimmer and Spielman are still here, then you can't go after a quarterback. You need to just keep it with these super conservative quarterbacks. Keep Kirk Cousins or whatever because they are going to ruin quarterbacks. They will ruin any potential of quarterbacks out there. But even besides that, let's say if they're gone, Trevor Lawrence needs to play better. He needs to play better. And right now, Clemson, they started their schedule off against quality opponents, but now they're going up against guys like, I don't know, backyard state football. They're going up against a bunch of nobodies in this stretch right now. So hopefully they will make the playoffs and we can see how they do. But Trevor Lawrence needs to play better, straight up. If he does this year and next year, then yes, I would trade up for him. But then again, teams are so quarterback hungry. This is a quarterback starving league where they're always trying to find the next Joe Montana or whatever. So you're going to have to do a lot of work to be able to trade up for a star quarterback. We'll see how that works out, but I think the best bet, if you think you're going to have a chance to go after him, is to tank it away next year. We'll do a couple more. We've almost hit an hour here. Bro. Andrew Sendejo. Yeah. Want that old thing back. Can't let you go. Let's see. Shirley Serious says Harris has one bad game, then they bring back Sendejo. I don't think it's because I think if anything it's for depth or just familiarity. But again, I just there's no reason to have him on the field. I wish they would make a roster move, as in benching Xavier Rhodes and Pat Elflein's ass. But they won't do that, but they'll bring back Andrew Sendejo. It's whatever. God, you guys broke that news. That's hilarious. Let's see. We'll do a couple more. DC Skywatcher. Oh, this is a good question. DC Skywatcher says, "What happened to Hercules?" That's a great question. It's funny. I completely forgot that he was on the team. I haven't seen him much at all in the last. What we are 6-3. I haven't seen him much in maybe the past 5 or 6 weeks. I don't know what has happened to him as far as having a rotation out there. But I mean, the times that he was out there, he played well. I know in the preseason he had, or maybe I'm wrong about this. I think he had penalty issues. But yeah, I don't know why he's not out there. I have no idea. It's a good question. Teddy B says, so maybe this is the stat that I was talking about, outdoor stadiums. Teddy B says, "Randy, can you please explain to me why the Vikings are still winless in 14 games out there, outdoors, on the road versus winning teams since 2014, 0-14? Do we need to build an outdoor stadium?" I don't know. Maybe you need to. I think is the roof retractable at US Bank Stadium? If so, they need to open that mother bleeper up, man. They really, really do. Because I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I think the outdoor elements you have to play, you need a certain level of toughness, and the Vikings just haven't been tough in outdoor stadiums, certainly when you're going up against good teams. I have no idea. Well, actually, I do have an idea. It's Mike Zimmer. Mike Tomlin would have them dudes ready. Oh, they said no, it's permanently closed. Okay. I don't know why I thought it was retractable. All right, well, either way, I don't get it. I don't know. I mean, it's Mike Zimmer, it's leadership. You don't have these teams prepared. But again, you need to have a certain level of toughness because, like the Green Bay Packers, the Chicago Bears, well, Chicago, they're having a shitty year this year, which I thought they were going to win the division again. That's clearly not going to happen. Arrowhead last week, even with Matt Moore, I mean, it's really sad. You need to be competitive, and you're not. Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know. Mm, let's see. We'll do two more. I think PK says, I think Irv Smith has a big game on Sunday. Remember the Raiders game? We got him open. Well, that's if, again, with pride, because we signed Kyle Rudolph to an extension of a higher or giving him more money. Irv Smith Jr. is the better player. He's the better player. As far as what we need, tight end one, Irv Smith Jr. is the better player. Kyle Rudolph has been better in blocking the last couple of weeks. I will say that. But overall, Irv Smith Jr. just brings a different level of dynamicness to this offense. If you use him, fine. But if you're not, then whatever. So if they use him, okay, he can have a great game, but whatever. And even if you use Kyle Rudolph, get him involved in the passing game. Now, I will say this, depending on Adam Thielen, I'm assuming he's not going to play. If he's not going to play, then okay, yes, the game will open up for our tight ends like it did with Kyle Rudolph last Sunday. But if Adam Thielen were to play, then it's a whole different story. We'll do one more. I Need Coffee says Josh McDaniels for 2020 head coach. I don't think he's leaving New England. I don't think he's leaving them at all. I think the only way he would leave is if Bill Belichick leaves, as in if Tom Brady leaves. So I think, or maybe he would give it a year after Brady leaves and if Belichick decided to stay. I don't see McDaniels leaving. And I think there are three other candidates that I would like to see get a shot before a Josh McDaniels. But he is an offensive-minded head coach. I think he could do well. Now, is he one of those guys where he's more of an offensive coordinator than a head coach? I don't know, because some guys are better served as that. Because if that's the case, maybe you can find a defensive-minded head coach, but bring in Pat Shurmur back, because I think his time as being a head coach is up after New York. He's been a head coach before with the New York Giants. So if it doesn't work out with, or no, not with the New York Giants, with the Cleveland Browns. So if it doesn't work out, then his time of possible new head coaching gigs is up and he'll forever be an offensive coordinator. So if that's the case, you could bring him back and bring in somebody else. I have no idea, but Josh McDaniels, I think that's a little bit far-fetched. G Status Music Channel says, nah, keep it rolling. All right, we'll do three more. Three more. Kaboom says Josh is the next Patriots head coach. I think once Brady is done. Okay, I can see that too. Okay, so either way, I just don't think Josh McDaniels is leaving. Let's see. So as far as my replacement, as far as replacements, I'll talk about that tomorrow. As far as three different guys, I see a couple of people saying, who do you think should replace him? Scrub Nation. Okay. Scrub Nation says if Jim Harbaugh leaves Michigan, what would you think of bringing him in? I will say this. So that's not one of the three guys that I was going to talk about, but I will say this, Scrub Nation. I was thinking about Jim Harbaugh. I'm still going to say no. I think it's an honorable mention. I'm going to say no because Jim Harbaugh, I could be wrong. I think he's a defensive head coach, right? I think he's a defensive head coach. Either way, regardless of that, if his brash attitude, I saw what he did with the San Francisco 49ers. I think when they fired him, I thought it was stupid because he brought the San Francisco 49ers back from the dead. He made that team alive. That team was super competitive. And I did think about it. I thought about it. But then at the same time, if his brash attitude is still going on and the team is losing, then we're looking at the same situation of what we're looking at with Mike Zimmer, as in get all big and bad, but your team is not producing. So I think it would still be the same thing. So that's why I would say no. And for the most part, not even for the most part, I would prefer an offensive-minded head coach. Let's see. I know. Scrub Nation says he was able to take a less talented 49ers team to the Super Bowl. I know. I understand that. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. That's why I considered it. But at the same time, I just think we need an offensive minded head coach for the talent that we still have. These guys are getting older. I think with George Edwards, if he stays on as defensive coordinator, I think we'll still be fine. I do. PK says, when are you coming to the next Minnesota home game? I have no idea. We'll see when the schedule comes out next year, but I am going to make this an annual thing where I come out there and say what's up to you guys. All right, we'll do one more. We'll do one more. It was fun, man. You guys have some great ass questions. Theoria says, what's for dinner, Randy? I don't know. Spam. Spam and corn. Let's see. I can't. Let's see. Your thoughts on Sunday night's game, Slim 1515. I'll talk about that on tomorrow's podcast. Check that out. Let's see. One more, man. Where you at? One more. Let's see. Is there any points that I have? No. Let's see. The Viking Dragon said, Skull says Kyle is a true Viking. Who are you talking about? Kyle Sloter? Oh, okay. This is a great question to end with. Oh, wait. No, two more. Because Theoris just asked the question, bro, have you had the Popeyes sandwich? Yo, I went to Popeyes. No lie. I went to Popeyes yesterday. And yes, I'm black. I went to Popeyes. And don't talk to me about I'm black. That's why I went to Popeyes. Have you had fried chicken? I don't care if you're white, black, Asian, Indian. Fried chicken is amazing. I went there yesterday. But these mofos are sold out all the time. And I'm like, this is the most ghetto ass shit that I've ever seen. Chick-fil-A would never. If I want a chicken sandwich, they're gonna have it. But Popeyes, I went there, line was long, and I said, listen, I'm not going to sit in this long ass line just for them to say it's sold out. So I parked my car and went inside, looked at the menu, and they had the sandwiches on there, on the menu, the pictures, and they had a label on it that said, be back soon. I'm like, yo, this is so damn ghetto because on Sunday, or not on Sunday, but last week, y'all advertised that these are going to be back forever, and you guys still aren't in stock. That was pathetic. So I tried yesterday. They didn't have it. But let's go back to the final question of this. It's Jason LS says, because I thought about this too. I'm glad you brought this up. What do you think about the Vikings picking up Teddy B in the future? That's a really good question. I don't know. And I don't think it's going to happen. I wouldn't be above it because especially if this team falls apart, then obviously you're probably going to be looking at Kirk Cousins replacements. Teddy Bridgewater could be a guy. If you're going to bring him back, it has to be next offseason because he played so well when Drew Brees was out with New Orleans that he's going to get a 1 or 2 or 3 year deal, much like Nick Foles got with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So if you're going to get him, it has to be this offseason. I said this all along. With the right system around him, Teddy can play great. And guess what? In New Orleans, with an okay defense, with good weapons, with Alvin Kamara being out, he still had Latavius Murray. He played fine. He played well. He played his ass off for a good contract. I wouldn't be above it. I think Teddy could do well. I know a lot of folks hate Teddy Bridgewater, but I've always said if you have the right system around him, he could be great. So I don't think he's going to come back. I think this team is handcuffed to Kirk Cousins no matter what, unless you can get him to waive his no-trade clause, which the only way you can do that is to say, listen, Kirk, if you don't believe in Kirk Cousins, you say, listen, Kirk, you are going to waive your no-trade clause, or if you don't, we are going to bench your ass for who's that guy we got? Who's our backup quarterback? The guy that the Vikings media was coming at me for saying they swore up and down that he's better than Kyle Sloter. Who's that dude that can't complete passes more than 6? Is it Sean something? What's his name? Somebody type his name out. What's his name? Sean. God, what is his name? God, I'm losing it right now. Anyway, whoever they swear is better, that guy, our actual backup quarterback, that is better than Kyle Sloter. Sean Mannion. Hot damn, Sean Mannion. all those media members that came after me and said, well, if you look at the analytics and the experience and all, those, oh, they are such clowns. They are such clowns. But what I would do to waive off Kirk Cousins' no trade clause is say, listen, if you don't waive your no trade clause, we are going to bench your ass in favor of Sean Mannion. That's what we're going to do so we could tank, so we could go after Trevor Lawrence or whoever the hell else in 2021. So that's what I would do. Teddy Bridgewater, he's not coming back. I think they're handcuffed to Kirk Cousins no matter what. So you guys, surely Sirius says Mannion is a great practice player. Yeah, he can't do shit on the field, though, even though those media members were kissing his ass. Media members are so quick to shit on Kyle Sloter, a guy that played well. Granted, it was in the preseason. And yet they prop up Sean Mannion, and then they don't say anything about the coaching staff because they're soft. Whatever. I'll keep it real with you guys. Next podcast will be tomorrow, in which I preview tomorrow, or podcast will be tomorrow, but in which I preview Sunday's game, Cowboys versus Vikings. This has been a lot of fun, folks. We'll do this way more often. We'll see you next time.